In the mountains of Appalachia, stories often aren't just stories. They linger in the woods, along back roads, and in places people learn not to go after dark. Passed down in whispers, or not spoken about at all, because some things out here are listening. And the longer you stay, the more you start to understand the warnings. Not only are they listening and watching, but waiting. Welcome back to Haunted Hollers and Eerie Encounters, stories from the Smoky Mountains and beyond. I'm your host, Stormy Skies, and tonight we're heading to the highest point in the Smoky Mountains. High above the Smokies, where the air grows colder and the fog rolls in without warning, stands the highest point in Tennessee and the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, Kuwohi, once known as Clingman's Dome, a place sacred to the Cherokee people, long before settlers ever arrived. On a clear day, you can see for at least 100 miles. It is peaceful and quiet, most of the time. Because some who've stood on those trails, listening through the trees, have heard something else. Not the wind, not a bird, not another hiker. Some say it comes from deep in the woods. Others say it waits and follows. You hear it once, and it's distant. You hear it again, and it's closer. And if you're not careful, you just might find out the source of the whistling. In Appalachia, there's a rule. If you hear something in the woods calling to you, no, you didn't. You don't respond. Think you heard a whistle? No, you didn't. And you definitely don't whistle back, because you don't know what you're inviting closer. The whistling isn't the only story tied to this mountain. There's another one, quieter, but just as unsettling. A man who never made it back down. Years ago, during a sudden onset of fog, a hiker disappeared along the trails. Search crews looked for days, but the mountain held no clues as to what happened. No tracks, no signs, no answers. But some say, on cold, fog-heavy days, you can still see him, moving through the mist, head down, walking slowly, like he's still trying to find something that he's lost, or his way home. He doesn't speak. When he does look up, it's like you aren't there. He just keeps walking, like he's following a trail no one else can see. But there's one more thing on this mountain that most people never see. Hidden beneath the road to Kuwohi, there's an old stone tunnel, built in the 1930s, carved from the mountain itself. The Thomas Divide Tunnel. It once carried a trail safely beneath the road, a passage connecting one side of the mountain to the other. But over time, the trail was moved, and the tunnel was left behind. People who found it describe something off. Not something they see, something they feel, like the air is heavier. And sometimes they hear something, not loud, and not clear, just enough to make them stop and listen. So now I have to wonder, an apparition hiking along the mountain trail, a tunnel where people hear odd sounds, and something whistling out in the woods. Are they separate stories, or are they all part of the same thing? Because beneath the Appalachians, the mountains aren't just forests and land. They're ancient, formed hundreds of millions of years ago from layers of sediment, compressed, shifted, and transformed over time. Stone made from sand, silt, and the remains of ancient sea life, where the rock largely consists of limestone. There's a theory, not proven, but discussed, that certain types of stone, like limestone, can hold on to energy, moments, emotion, even trauma, like a recording pressed into the earth itself. It's called the stone tape theory, the idea that places don't just witness events, they store them. And under the right conditions, they play them back. So what if the sound people hear on this mountain isn't something moving through the woods? What if it's something being replayed by them? A sound from a time that once was, or a hiker lost in a storm, calling out, trying to be heard. And maybe it doesn't stop there. People have reported something else. Lights, floating, flickering, appearing in places where nothing should be. The Thomas Divide ghost lights have been seen for decades, moving along the ridge lines, changing, shifting, sometimes vanishing in an instant. No roads, no structures, nothing that presently explains them. But there are stories older than the roads, older than the overlooks, older even than the name Kuwohi. Stories passed down through the Cherokee, who have known these mountains far longer than anyone else. One of those stories speaks of a man, a spiritual leader, who refused to leave this land when others were forced away. He stayed, even when he knew what it might cost him. He was captured, killed, and according to the legend, his body was scattered across the mountains. Not laid to rest, not made whole again. And now, some believe, those lights seen at Thomas Divide aren't just light, but something searching, moving through the ridges night after night, trying to find what was lost. Others say it isn't one spirit, but many, echoes of those who lived, walked, and were taken from this land. And whether you believe that or not, it doesn't change the fact that something is there, something people still see, still report, still can't fully explain. So what if it's one phenomenon? What if the land remembers things? Not just memories, but energy. And every now and then, it leaks through. A whistle in the woods, a light on the ridge, occurrences that can't be explained away. Maybe it's just sound, wind moving through trees, through stone, through hollow spaces. Or maybe it's the echo of something lost, a man still trying to find his way home. Or maybe it's something that was never lost at all, something traveling along a seemingly abandoned trail, something replaying on a loop for all time. So if you ever find yourself at Kuwohi when the fog begins to roll in and you hear something whistling through the trees, just remember, no, you didn't. Have you ever experienced something you couldn't explain? Strange lights moving through the sky, shadows that don't move the way they should, or something following you along a mountain trail? Give me a holler. Send your story to MyHollerStory@gmail.com, and your encounter might be featured in a future episode of Eerie Encounters. And if you're enjoying the show, make sure you're following so that you don't miss which haunted holler we're visiting next. New episodes drop every Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern on Spotify and wherever you listen to podcasts. As always, I'll have all episode sources and further reading linked in the show notes if you're brave enough to delve deeper into the shadows of Appalachia. And if you'd like to support the show, you can find my website in the description. Most importantly, thank you for listening. The mountains of Appalachia have always been a place of mystery. Long before roads and towns, these hills held stories of strange encounters, wandering spirits, and things no one could explain. And even now, deep within the Smoky Mountains, people are still seeing and hearing things they can't quite understand. This has been Haunted Hollers and Eerie Encounters, stories from the Smoky Mountains and beyond. I'm Stormy Skies. Thank you for listening and for stepping with me into the shadows of Appalachia. Until next time, don't go into the hollers after dark.